My beloved child, something urgent is moving in the unseen realms right now, and Archangel Michael is stepping forward with a message that carries the weight of heaven behind it. When he says this is not a joke, it's an emergency, it means the spiritual atmosphere around you has shifted. A hidden hand hath been working against you, and God is revealing it because the time for secrecy has ended. Heaven never interrupts your life without purpose, and tonight, the veil is lifting. A storm has been gathering around your finances, your peace, and your spiritual strength. You have felt sudden drains, unexpected losses, emotional heaviness, and moments where things fall apart at the last second. These were not random. Archangel Michael is making it clear. Someone intentionally sowed seeds of disruption into your path. A person who smiled in your face but carried silent resentment in their heart. A person who laughed with you but quietly hoped you would fail. And God says, this person ordered your financial and spiritual loss. You need to know before it's too late. You've been sensing something, haven't you? A heaviness when you wake up. A strange tension in conversations. A subtle shift in how someone treats you. Almost like they are watching, waiting, analyzing. That was your spirit alarm trying to warn you before heaven spoke. But now, Archangel Michael stands with his sword lifted, ready to cut every invisible thread that this person tried to wrap around your destiny. Listen closely, child of light. This attack was never powerful. It was only hidden. Darkness is strongest when unseen. But the moment divine truth exposes it, its power collapses instantly. And Archangel Michael says exposure has begun. The disguise is crumbling. The mask is slipping. The intentions of this person, the envy, the manipulation, the quiet sabotage, are about to become visible. God is bringing their shadow into the open before the next chapter of your life begins. There is a reason this warning feels personal. There is a reason your spirit is reacting even now. Because the person God is exposing is not a stranger. Is someone who stood close enough to touch what belonged to you. They watched your blessings rise, and instead of celebrating, they whispered against them. They monitored your progress more than they monitored their own soul. And when they realized they could not match what God placed on your life, they tried to interrupt it. But hear Archangel Michael clearly. They will not succeed. They cannot succeed. They were never meant to succeed. Your destiny was written in a language darkness cannot read and cannot alter. Right now heaven is moving with urgency because your next breakthrough is near. Your spiritual sensitivity is rising. Your financial shift is approaching. And before that blessing descends, God wants you aware and protected, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That is why this message came now and not earlier. The threat is reaching its expiration date, and exposure is heaven's final step before restoration. You may feel chills as you listen, not of fear, but confirmation. Your spirit recognizes truth long before your mind catches up. And Archangel Michael is whispering, do not panic. Do not fear. You are surrounded by divine strength. The danger is not the person. The danger is their intention. And God is severing their influence completely. Someone attempted to speak loss over you, but heaven is reversing every word. They tried to interfere with your stability, but God is preparing to increase it. They tried to drain your spiritual fire, but Archangel Michael is reigniting it with double intensity. The moment this person is exposed, you will notice divine acceleration. Opportunities will unfold. Blocked paths will open. Confusing situations will suddenly make sense. And your spirit will feel lighter than it has in months. Right now, heaven is watching your reaction. but in alignment. When you choose to stay, listen, and understand, you spiritually position yourself for protection and elevation. This is why Archangel Michael said it is an emergency, because your blessing is too close for you to be blindsided now. Before this message goes deeper, hold your heart steady. What God reveals next will help you recognize the signs, understand the patterns, and know exactly who this person is. You are not hearing this by accident. You are hearing this because the shift has already begun. And trust me, the truth that is about to unfold next will shake you, but it will also free you. Before you scroll, stay with me. What comes next will clarify everything. Type "I stand in light" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Lesson code 1444 is now released. My precious one, there is a reason your spirit has been restless, even on the days when everything on the outside looked normal. Something deep within you has been sensing a shift, a disturbance, a vibration in the unseen. Archangel Michael steps forward again, not in silence but with the commanding presence of one who has guarded the destinies of God's people for generations. He says there is more you must understand, because the emergency he declared is not meant to frighten you but to awaken you fully. Heaven is preparing a revelation that will not just expose the one who planned your loss, but also reveal the spiritual patterns that allowed them to get close enough to attempt it. You have been surrounded by people who smiled at you, praised you, admired your strength, but secretly resented the favor that followed you. These individuals don't always come with obvious signs. Sometimes they blend in, pretending to be support systems. Sometimes they act like well-wishers. Sometimes they show sympathy in your struggles while celebrating in your setbacks. And the one God is exposing now fits this pattern perfectly. This is not a casual observer of your life. This is someone who studied your movements, your habits, your weaknesses, your strengths. They wanted to understand how your blessings worked so they could quietly interfere with them. You may be replaying past conversations in your mind without realizing why. You may suddenly remember small comments, subtle reactions, strange coincidences. This is not random memory. This is divine recall. Archangel Michael is bringing to your awareness clues you overlooked before. Because what you are dealing with is not just a person's bad intention. It is someone who invited spiritual interference into your life. Their words carried poison. Their jealousy created openings. Their hidden bitterness made them spiritually dangerous without you even realizing it. But listen carefully, beloved. Just because someone intended to harm you does not mean their intention succeeded. Heaven blocked far more than you know. You survived emotional storms you never understood. You escaped traps that were invisible to your natural eyes. You were spared losses that would have taken years to recover from. And every time this person tried to influence your path negatively, God intercepted. But now the time has come for you to see clearly. Exposure is not punishment. Exposure is protection. God never reveals an enemy unless victory is already guaranteed. Archangel Michael never speaks emergency unless heaven is already in position. This message is not arriving late. It is arriving right on time, at the very edge of your breakthrough, when clarity is most needed and spiritual awareness is most critical. You are stepping into a season where divine timing is everything, and God refuses to let you carry this hidden thread into the next phase of your blessing. You have been feeling tired in ways you cannot explain. You have felt drained after certain conversations. You have sensed heaviness around specific individuals. That is because your spirit was picking up what your mind could not yet interpret. Not all exhaustion is physical. Some of it is spiritual. Some of it is emotional leakage caused by someone silently pulling from you while giving nothing back. The person God is exposing carried an energy that dimmed your inner flame every time they approached. They did not need to speak evil out loud. Their intentions alone were loud enough in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael is revealing something significant. The attacks against your finances and spiritual growth were not because you were weak, but because you were rising. The closer you got to stability, the more threatened this person became. The closer you got to clarity, the more they wished confusion upon you. The closer you got to breaking generational patterns, the more they wished the old cycles would return. They were comfortable with you surviving, but not with you succeeding. They were fine with you making progress as long as it wasn't more than theirs. They clapped for you, but only when the progress was small. The moment your blessing began to increase, their heart shifted, and God watched. You must understand this truth. Heaven is not exposing this person to shame them. Heaven is exposing them so you no longer walk blinded, because the anointing on your life is entering a new level. The financial restoration God is preparing for you requires spiritual clarity. The emotional healing you are stepping into requires clean connections. And the elevation that is coming requires protection from those who secretly resent your growth. Your life is shifting. Your spirit is waking up. Your path is being cleared. And this moment of truth is the beginning of that cleansing. Archangel Michael's sword is drawn not to attack people but to sever spiritual attachments. What was sent to drain you will no longer reach you. What was spoken against you will reverse. What was meant to block your way will become the very stepping stone God uses to elevate you. Right now, take a breath and steady your heart. What you are about to learn next will not only reveal who this person is, but also empower you to never fall into the same spiritual trap again. What comes next will open your eyes to signs you have missed for months, maybe even years. Stay with this message, because the next revelation will make everything crystal clear. Hold your spirit steady, beloved. What unfolds now will guide you into discernment you have never had before. Before you move on, this is where the truth begins to take shape, and you will want to hear it. Type "I walk in revelation" in the comments if this is reaching your spirit. Blessing code 2626 is now activated. My chosen soul, there comes a moment in every spiritual battle when heaven leans in closer, when the unseen realm presses against your earthly reality, and when the truth that once hid in shadows begins to knock loudly on the doors of your awareness. That moment is now. Archangel Michael stands beside you with a clarity so sharp, it cuts through confusion like light slicing darkness. He says this emergency was declared because what had been happening around you carries deeper roots than you realize. Someone did not merely wish you harm, they summoned it. They positioned themselves spiritually against you in ways you never expected someone so close to you would dare attempt. You have been carrying an invisible weight that did not belong to you. At times you felt as if blessings came and then slipped away. Opportunities opened but then collapsed. Peace entered your life but disappeared without warning. These were not coincidences. Every disruption had fingerprints. Not yours, not fate, but the fingerprints of a person whose heart could not celebrate your rise. A person who watched you grow, admired your strength, yet felt threatened by your purpose. You felt their energy shift long before heaven exposed their intent. That subtle discomfort in their presence was not anxiety. It was your spirit recognizing spiritual misalignment. Archangel Michael reveals that this person's attempt to order your financial and spiritual loss did not happen overnight. It began with jealousy, then evolved into comparison, then moved into quiet resentment. Humans rarely speak these steps out loud, but spiritually, they echo. And heaven hears every whisper. God is revealing this now because your final phase of restoration is too close for hidden enemies to remain attached to your journey. This exposure is a spiritual cleansing. You are being separated from energies that were never meant to sit at your table. Think back to those moments when you felt your confidence shake for no clear reason. The times when your prayers felt heavy. The days when you woke up drained, even though you slept. The sudden doubt that crept in right after you shared something personal with someone. That was not your mind failing you. That was interference. Divine interference is protective, but earthly interference, rooted in jealousy and spiritual negativity, seeks to limit. And God refuses to let you carry that limitation any further. This person, the one God is exposing, have been standing too close to your progress, too close to your private dreams, too close to your spiritual steps. They tried to wrap themselves around your breakthroughs like vines that want to squeeze the life out of a rising tree. They wanted your growth to stay manageable, predictable, non-threatening. But your anointing was never meant to be small. It was never meant to stay quiet. And as your spiritual fire started rising, it revealed the weakness in their own flame. Instead of seeking growth, they sought control. Instead of seeking healing, they sought a kind of influence that turned into spiritual sabotage. You must understand this. The emergency Archangel Michael declared is not because you are in danger. It is because you are in transition. Transition exposes all things that cannot follow you. And this person, despite pretending to support you, was never designed to support your next dimension. Their presence was acceptable in your past and tolerable in your present, but dangerous to your future. God is stepping in because the next chapter of your life is delicate. The spiritual soil must be pure. The inner circle must be aligned. The energy around you must be clean. There were signs, soft and subtle, that tried to warn you. Their sudden mood shifts when good things happened for you. Their silent withdrawal when you shared a blessing. Their quick excitement when you struggled. Their strange curiosity about your finances, your plans, your fears. The way they wanted to know everything but offered nothing real in return. Archangel Michael says your spirit saw these red flags even when your heart didn't want to acknowledge them. Love, loyalty, or familiarity blinded you temporarily, but heaven will not let you stay blind when your destiny is at stake. Now the truth rises like morning light. You are stepping into a spiritual elevation that requires sharper discernment. The exposure heaven is bringing is not meant to break you. It is meant to protect you. You are being freed from invisible agreements that were never written in God's will. You are being lifted above every word spoken against you. The financial loss they tried to invoke is reversing. The spiritual heaviness they tried to send is dissolving. Your intention is losing its strength. Your influence is being cut off completely. And now, beloved soul, you stand at the edge of a revelation that will make everything fall into place. The next phase of this message will not only help you recognize exactly who this person is, but also teach you how to spiritually secure your life so this type of attack never reaches you again. What is coming next is crucial. Before you move forward, pause your heart and stay close. The next layer is where the truth sharpens so clearly, it becomes impossible to ignore. Before this moment closes, remember to like this message, share it with someone who needs this revelation, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss a prophetic warning that heaven sends for your protection. Lift this video up, because someone else's breakthrough is hidden inside it. Type "I claim my freedom" in the comments if this is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 5511 has now been released. Just as this message reveals the hidden battles around you, This mission is about pulling people out of spiritual darkness and into divine clarity. When you support this channel, you are not just giving. You are sowing light into places where shadows have been winning for far too long. God says, "Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." And today that verse becomes living breath for everyone who stands with this work. I am inviting you personally to step into this calling with me, because your seed becomes a torch that helps guide another soul out of spiritual danger. This message carries the urgency of the title, and your support helps carry that urgency to those who need warning before it is too late. Every blessing you release becomes a prophetic act, and heaven recognizes those who fund the spread of truth. If God is touching your heart, respond boldly. Super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description. Choose your door and walk through it with faith. My dearly guided one, there is a shift taking place around you even now. A thinning of the veil, a soft trembling in the atmosphere that signals heaven is preparing to reveal what your spirit has been sensing for far too long. Archangel Michael steps closer with a message that feels like fire wrapped in truth. He says you are entering the phase where revelation becomes unmistakable, where your intuition sharpens, and where the spiritual shadows that once clung to you begin to scatter in fear. What you are about to understand is not meant to overwhelm you, but to free you. Because when God reveals the hidden motives of a person, it is never to break your heart. It is to protect your destiny. For weeks, months, maybe even years, you have been navigating a strange contradiction. You felt supported, yet drained. You felt accompanied, yet spiritually alone. You felt surrounded, yet misunderstood in the deepest places of your soul. This contradiction was not emotional weakness. It was spiritual intelligence trying to awaken. The person God is exposing was close enough to comfort you, but never close enough to truly celebrate your growth. Their presence offered familiarity, but not safety. Their companionship offered noise, but not nourishment. They were connected to your life, but not aligned with your calling. Archangel Michael reveals that this person did something more dangerous than simply wish you harm. They spoke against you in moments when your spirit was vulnerable. They questioned your abilities, not out loud, but within themselves. They compared their journey to yours, and in that comparison, planted roots of bitterness. Those roots grew silently, and in that silence, they sent out spiritual vibrations that began tugging at your progress, your self-belief, your clarity. Humans often underestimate the power of unspoken intentions, but heaven never does it. Heaven hears even the quietest malice. But understand this truth: what they attempted to order over your life, financial loss, spiritual decline, emotional instability, did not come from a place of power. It came from a place of insecurity. Insecurity is loud in the spiritual realm, even when the person behaves softly on the surface. And Archangel Michael stepped in because insecurity mixed with envy becomes spiritual sabotage. God is revealing this because you must see how deeply their intentions attempted to tangle with your blessings. You may wonder why this person had access to you in the first place. Why God allowed them to stand close, to listen to your goals, to observe your progress, to watch your spiritual journey unfold. But heaven had a purpose. Exposure cannot happen from afar. Understanding cannot develop from distance. Discernment cannot grow without experience. This person's presence was allowed, not to harm you, but to sharpen you. You are becoming spiritually wiser, more aware, more discerning. And once God completes that work, the connection that once existed will fall away like dead leaves releasing from a tree in winter. Look closely at your recent experiences. Notice how the moments before your breakthroughs always carried sudden interruptions. Notice how whenever you shared something meaningful with them, Something small seemed to shift in your spirit afterward. Notice how your joy seemed to dim slightly after certain conversations. That was not your imagination. That was spiritual friction. Archangel Michael is revealing that the person God is exposing built an emotional bridge to you but carried spiritual tension underneath it. They smiled, but their spirit frowned. They nodded, but their energy rejected your success. They agreed with you, but inside they hoped you would stay exactly where you were. You have been carrying the emotional residue of their intentions without even realizing it. A heaviness you felt. It was not depression. It was spiritual clutter. A confusion that came out of nowhere. It was not indecision. It was interference. A sudden drop in confidence. It was not personal failure. It was energy leakage. And now, heaven is cleansing every particle of that residue. Archangel Michael is lifting his sword not toward the person, but toward the spiritual influence behind their actions. You are being released from attachments you did not know existed. But here is the divine twist. The exposure of this person is not meant to make you bitter. It is meant to make you spiritually refined. Not every person who betrays you is evil. Some are simply broken. Some are simply unhealed. Some are simply threatened by a light they do not know how to carry within themselves. And while their actions were wrong, heaven is asking you to rise above resentment. Not for their sake, but for yours. Your next dimension cannot coexist with bitterness. Your future cannot be built on the ruins of someone else's weakness. You are being elevated, not entangled. The next revelation that's coming will begin to connect the dots. It will help you identify this individual without confusion. Heaven is not exposing them so you can confront them. Heaven is exposing them so you can release them. What will be revealed next will give you the clarity you have been praying for, the confirmation your spirit has been whispering, and the strength your heart needs to close a door gracefully. Stay close now. Take a breath. This message is about to unlock a level of discernment that will protect your destiny for the rest of your life. You will want to hear every word of what comes next, because the deeper truth is unfolding now, and it will reshape how you see your past and your future. Type I see the signs clearly in the comments if this is touching your spirit. Blessing code 8080 has now been released. My awakened spirit bearer, there is a stirring within the deepest chambers of your soul right now, a quiet but undeniable confirmation that everything unfolding in this message aligns with a truth you have felt but couldn't fully articulate. Archangel Michael stands beside you once again, his presence firm, steady, and filled with the authority of heaven's highest command. He says you are now stepping into the most revealing phase of this divine warning, the part where the hidden becomes visible, where the silent becomes loud, and where your spirit finally understands what your heart has been trying to ignore. Heaven is bringing you into clarity because confusion was never meant to be your companion. For too long, you doubted your intuition. You gave people second chances, not because they deserved them, but because your heart was pure. You told yourself you were overthinking when your spirit actually knew. You blamed yourself for the tension that wasn't yours. You questioned your judgment instead of questioning their intentions. This is what happens when someone spiritually misaligned stands too close to a chosen one. Their confusion spills into your clarity. Their insecurity leaks into your confidence. Your envy contaminates your peace. And Archangel Michael is revealing that this is exactly what has been happening around you. You began noticing small changes in yourself long before you realized those changes were connected to this person. You lost motivation at moments when you were supposed to rise. You felt reluctant to share your joy, even when you had every reason to celebrate. You sensed a strange distance growing, even when nothing was said aloud. These were not coincidences. They were clues. Heaven has been speaking through your discomfort, through your sudden emotional shifts, through the quiet voice inside you that whispered, "Something is off." But you pushed those whispers aside because you wanted to believe the best. You wanted to hold on to peace. You wanted to avoid unnecessary conflict. Yet heaven refuses to let you walk into your breakthrough with blindfolded trust. You are stepping into a season where discernment is not optional. It is essential. You cannot afford to misunderstand spiritual influences anymore. You cannot afford to misread intentions. You cannot afford to let familiar faces hold familiar access when their hearts no longer align with your assignment. The emergency that Archangel Michael declared was not because danger was overtaking you. It was because clarity needed to reach you immediately. God has been watching every moment when this person pretended to support you while quietly resenting the glow around your life. Their spirit recoiled when they saw you blessed. Their heart tightened when they saw you improving. Their energy shifted whenever you announced something that lifted your life higher. They may have said congratulations, but their spirit whispered something else. Those whispers were the vibrations that heaven intercepted. And the moment their desire for your decline rose from secret thought into spiritual action, Archangel Michael sounded the alarm. Now you are being given the revelation heaven has long prepared you for. This person studied your vulnerabilities. They knew what made you tired. They knew what made you insecure. They knew exactly how to say just enough to keep you close but not enough to truly lift you. They played the part well. They acted patient, kind, understanding. But spiritually, they were counting your steps instead of covering them. They were monitoring your blessings instead of protecting them. They were watching your progress with eyes that admired your journey but resented the distance between where you are and where they remain. And the most dangerous people in your life are never the ones who openly oppose you. They are the ones who quietly wish you success as long as it doesn't surpass theirs. They want you to shine, but not too brightly. They want you to win, but not too easily. They want you to rise, but not too quickly. Archangel Michael says this is the exact mindset of the person God is exposing. They wanted just enough of your blessing to feel connected, but not enough for you to outgrow them. But heaven is done allowing that influence to interfere with your path. You are entering a season of divine acceleration, and God will not let you carry spiritually heavy connections into a future designed to be light. You are rising, and every elevation demands separation. You are expanding, and every expansion removes what cannot stretch with you. You are awakening, and every awakening exposes who was truly walking with you and who was simply near you. Archangel Michael wants you to understand something crucial. The exposure of this person is not coming to embarrass them. It is coming to liberate you. You needed this clarity because your spirit is preparing for a higher assignment, and this person's energy would have made that assignment harder. Heaven is not revealing them so you can confront them in anger. Heaven is revealing them so you can detach with wisdom. You are not being instructed to fight. You are being instructed to free yourself. As the next layers unfold, you will start to recognize patterns that make it clear who this person is. You will notice the energy shifts, the past reactions, the strange coincidences, the emotional drains, and the spiritual fog that always surrounded them. You will begin to see how their presence affected you more deeply than you realized. And this understanding will not make you bitter. It will make you spiritually mature. Beloved, stay present. What comes next will help identify this person with divine precision. The revelation is nearing its peak, and the clarity heaven is about to release will change everything. Type "My discernment is awakening" in the comments if this is aligning with your spirit. Blessing code 9099 is now activated. My divinely guarded one, There is a sacred hush falling over your spirit right now, the kind of silence that comes before a profound revelation. Archangel Michael moves with purpose, drawing nearer to you as the atmosphere around you shifts. He says you are now entering the unveiling. This is the moment where clarity turns into recognition, where the pieces of the puzzle begin aligning one by one, and where the hidden assignment of the one who stood against you becomes unmistakable. Heaven has been preparing your heart for this level of truth because what you are about to understand will not only free you, it will reposition your entire future. For so long, you carried a heaviness without an explanation. You woke up on certain days feeling spiritually drained even though nothing in your physical life justified. You felt waves of discouragement settle on you unexpectedly, especially after interactions with a specific person. You felt your peace shift slightly, almost unnoticeably, whenever they entered your space. At times, you questioned why your dreams felt cloudy after speaking to them. You wondered why your excitement dimmed whenever you shared your victories with them. You noticed how certain plans fell apart after they learned about them. These moments were not random or coincidental. They were symptoms, spiritual signs of an energy that was interfering with your path long before heaven announced this emergency. Archangel Michael reveals that this person's influence was subtle but consistent. They operated through small remarks disguised as concern, through questions that made you doubt yourself, through silence at moments when you needed support, through a tone that sounded soft but carried spiritual tension. They were not openly confrontational because their battle was never in the physical. Their struggle was happening internally, in their heart, in their spirit. They wrestled with jealousy, comparison, and insecurity, not because of something you did wrong, but because your presence exposed what they had not healed within themselves. You have always carried an anointing you didn't brag about. You walked with a light you didn't flaunt. You possessed strength you didn't show off. And without meaning to, your rising intimidated someone who secretly feared being left behind. They watched you grow, and each step you took pulled you further from the version of yourself that made them comfortable. They realized they could no longer influence you the way they once did. They realized you no longer depended on them. That realization shifted their heart. And in that shift, they allowed negative intentions to take root. Heaven saw those intentions. Heaven heard the thoughts they never said aloud. Heaven witnessed the spiritual seeds they attempted to plant around your destiny. And that is why Archangel Michael stepped in. Not because you are weak, but because your spirit is too powerful for heaven to let darkness hover around you unchecked. You may have noticed their behavior change over time. Your eyes lost warmth when you succeeded. Your voice tightened when you talked about blessings. Their presence felt heavier, not lighter, when you shared your dreams. They offered encouragement that sounded supportive but felt hollow. They asked questions that seemed friendly but carried a strange undercurrent. They wanted access to your plans, not to celebrate them but to measure them. They wanted to stay close, not out of loyalty, but out of fear of losing their place in your life. Archangel Michael says their attachment to you became less about connection and more about control. Yet, understand this. This person is not your enemy. They are simply spiritually unhealed. Their brokenness became a doorway for negative influence. Their insecurity became a bridge for spiritual interference. And their jealousy became the seed for their misguided intention. Heaven is not exposing them for you to hate them. Heaven is exposing them so you can rise unburdened. You may be tempted to confront them, to seek answers, to demand honesty, but Archangel Michael is clear. Your responsibility is not confrontation. Your responsibility is clarity. Discernment does not require conflict. Awareness does not require accusation. Your elevation requires distance, not drama. The moment this person is exposed to your spirit, their influence immediately loses power. Their spiritual permission to interfere becomes revoked. Their connection to your journey becomes weakened. Heaven handles what your heart should not carry. As this revelation deepens, you may find yourself remembering past moments that suddenly make sense. Times when something felt off but you brushed it aside. Times when your excitement was met with strange silence. Times when your vulnerability was met with quiet judgment. Times when your progress stalled after you shared something personal. These memories are not resurfacing randomly. They are resurfacing because heaven is organizing them into understanding. You are being given the ability to discern what your heart once overlooked. And here is the truth Archangel Michael wants you to grasp. This exposure is happening because your next season requires purified connections. You cannot carry hidden envy into your elevation. You cannot bring silent resentment into your breakthrough. You cannot allow spiritual leaks to exist around your abundance. God is preparing to lift you into a higher level of purpose, and this person's energy would have contaminated the blessings meant to flow freely. Heaven refuses to let your future be affected by someone whose spirit is not aligned with your growth. This is why the emergency was declared. Not because harm was overwhelming you, but because timing is urgent. Your next breakthrough is approaching. Your financial restoration is forming. Your spiritual power is rising. And this person's presence could have delayed what was meant to arrive swiftly. Heaven is protecting your acceleration. Stay with this message, beloved. The next revelation will identify patterns that will make the identity of this person unmistakable. You are closer to clarity than you have ever been. Hold your spirit steady. What comes next will open your eyes completely. Type "My spirit is alert" in the comments if this resonates deeply. Lesson code 4343 is now released. I rising light. There is a deep stillness around you right now, a spiritual quiet that only comes when heaven is preparing your heart for the truth it long tried to whisper to you. Archangel Michael stands before you with an authority that does not shake, a strength that does not tremble, and a clarity that cannot be misinterpreted. He says you are now approaching the moment where understanding turns into recognition, and recognition turns into revelation. The person God is exposing is becoming easier to identify as heaven continues to peel back the layers that once clouded your perception. What you are feeling in your spirit right now is alignment, your inner knowing catching up with heaven's truth. You have always possessed a sensitive soul, one that feels energy before words, one that senses motives before actions. Even when you convinced yourself that you were imagining things, your spirit was alert. It picked up on tension in the atmosphere even when the room was quiet. It sensed heaviness in certain conversations even when the tone sounded friendly. It recognized the imbalance in the connection long before your mind acknowledged it. Archangel Michael reveals that you were spiritually discerning even in your moments of uncertainty. You were protected even in your moments of vulnerability. Heaven has been training your intuition, sharpening your vision, and preparing you to see the truth without fear. Think back to the moments when your joy felt short-lived. The times when you celebrated something beautiful, only to feel a sudden drop in your spirit when someone reacted with half-hearted enthusiasm. Think about the times when you felt guilty sharing good news because you sensed it wouldn't be received with pure excitement. Think about the times when you shared your dreams and left the conversation feeling smaller, not encouraged. These were signs, beloved, not emotional confusion, spiritual warnings. The person God is exposing was often present in these moments. Their reactions carried a subtle vibration that your spirit recognized, even if your heart didn't want to accept it. Archangel Michael explains that this person never understood the weight of their own intentions. They didn't know how deeply their insecurity could affect someone spiritually sensitive. They didn't realize how their hidden resentment could create a fog around your clarity. They didn't see that their quiet jealousy had the power to drain your inspiration. They thought their silence was harmless, their comparison invisible, their envy unnoticed. But heaven sees the unseen. Heaven hears the unspoken. Heaven feels the unexpressed. And heaven protects those chosen by God with a vigilance that human perception cannot comprehend. This person did not wake up one day intending to interfere with your life. It was a slow formation. It began with admiration. They looked up to you more than you realized. They saw you as strong, capable, gifted, favored. Then admiration turned to comparison. They started to measure their progress against yours. Comparison then became discomfort. They felt threatened by the grace on your life, even if they never admitted it. And discomfort eventually became envy. Not the loud kind, the quiet, internal kind that passes through the mind like a shadow no one speaks about. That envy is what opened the spiritual doorway for negative influence to attach to their intentions. Your spirit began to pull away long before your mind understood why. You found yourself needing space from them. You found yourself becoming protective of your dreams. You shared less, observed more, and trusted your inner whispers more than their outer words. This was not emotional distance. This was divine separation in progress. Heaven often disconnects you spiritually before you disconnect physically. That distance is heaven's way of preparing your heart for truth. That inner hesitation was not random. It was Archangel Michael guiding you away from something that would have drained your future blessings. There were moments when you felt guilty for pulling away. You blamed yourself for being distant, even when your spirit was simply protecting itself. You told yourself you were overthinking, when in reality, your discernment was awakening. Every time you tried to ignore the signs, heaven sent another one. Every time you tried to silence your intuition, your spirit became louder. You were never confused, you were being guided. And now, heaven is ready to give you full clarity. Archangel Michael says the behaviors that once seemed small will now become unmistakable indicators. Pay attention to remembering moments where their encouragement felt forced, where their compliments felt shallow, where their presence left you feeling spiritually drained instead of uplifted. These memories are resurfacing not to hurt you, but to enlighten you. Heaven is connecting the dots for you, piece by piece, moment by moment, until the identity of this person becomes clear without any doubt. But here is the most important truth. Heaven is not revealing this to break your heart. It is revealing it to free your spirit. Because the person God is exposing cannot follow you into your next season. Your elevation requires emotional clarity. Your financial breakthrough requires spiritual purity. Your divine assignment requires clean connections. God is removing this interference because your future is too important for heaven to let this go unaddressed. Archangel Michael is preparing you for one final step of recognition. You are closer than ever. The patterns are becoming visible. Your spirit is aligning. Your discernment is sharpening. Clarity is rising. What comes next will complete the picture and reveal exactly why God said, "You need to know before it's too late." Stay here, beloved. The next revelation will not just identify the person, it will expose the purpose behind their presence in your life. Type "My spirit is ready for truth" in the comments if this message is awakening you. Blessing code 7272 is now released. My spirit strengthened 1. There is a holy weight in the air around you right now, the kind of heaviness that does not come from fear, but from truth preparing to land. Archangel Michael stands tall, radiant, unwavering, and he says you are entering the stage where revelation becomes undeniable. You have walked through the whisper, the stirring, the subtle signs, and now you are standing at the edge of recognition. Heaven has been leading you step by step because the truth about this person is not meant to shock you. It is meant to empower you. You are being positioned to see what you once ignored, to understand what you once dismissed, and to finally acknowledge what your spirit has been trying to show you for a very long time. The person God is exposing was never random. They were placed in your life during a time when your heart was softer, when your trust was broader, when your boundaries were thinner. At first, they seemed supportive. They understood your struggles. They offered empathy when you were hurting. They stayed close when others didn't. But over time, something began to shift. Their presence started to drain you instead of strengthen you. Their advice began to confuse you instead of guide you. Their energy made you feel smaller instead of lifted. These shifts were the earliest indicators that heaven saw long before you did. Archangel Michael reveals that this person learned you deeply. They learned how sensitive you are. They learned how forgiving you are. They learned how easily you see the good in people. They learned that you carry a heart that heals others, even while healing yourself. But instead of honoring this purity, they began taking advantage of it. They took your openness and used it as access. They took your vulnerability and used it as observation. They took your honesty and used it as information. Not because they wanted to destroy you outright, but because they envied the spiritual strength you carried without even trying. Their jealousy grew quietly, hidden, wrapped in politeness, masked with friendliness. Yet it was there, lingering in the background every time they smiled at you. And each time you shared something exciting, something divine, something filled with hope, their spirit reacted long before their face did. Archangel Michael says this is why you often felt a strange sinking inside you after interacting with them. You would share something beautiful, and instead of leaving the conversation feeling uplifted, you felt slightly unsettled. That feeling was spiritual misalignment. Heaven was trying to show you that their heart did not match their words. This person is someone who wanted proximity to your blessings but not responsibility for your growth. They wanted to witness what God was doing for you, but they did not want to cheer for it sincerely. They watched your spiritual journey not with admiration, but with a desire to measure themselves against it. And when they realized they could not walk with your pace, they began hoping silently that you would slow down, that you would struggle, that you would pause, that you would lose the momentum heaven has been building around you. God saw their heart. Archangel Michael heard their unspoken intentions. Heaven listened to the muttered thoughts they believed were private. And when their internal desire for your spiritual and financial setback crossed into spiritual interference, heaven intervened. That is why this message feels urgent. That is why your spirit feels stirred. That is why clarity has been unfolding piece by piece. Heaven refuses to let a jealous spirit walk through the door of your next season. And now, beloved soul, you are beginning to see it clearly. Think about the times they questioned your abilities under the disguise of concern. The times they doubted your dreams wrapped in gentle suggestions. The times they subtly made you feel incapable. The times their presence made you shrink instead of expand. The times they said they were happy for you, but their energy contradicted their words. These moments were not accidents. They were revelations. Archangel Michael says the reason this emergency is unfolding now is because you are stepping into a divine upgrade. A breakthrough that carries weight. A blessing that requires purity in your connections. You are transitioning into a place where God is about to amplify your voice, expand your influence, and restore everything the enemy tried to drain from your life. This person cannot follow you there. Their intention would contaminate the space you are entering. Their energy would blot the flow heaven is preparing for you. Their jealousy would distort the blessing meant to shine through you. Heaven is cleansing your path, removing the unseen, closing spiritual doorways, removing emotional interference, breaking negative alignments. This exposure is not punishment, it is purification. And the next part of this message will reveal exactly how heaven will finalize this separation and restore everything you lost because of this connection. Before this revelation continues, pause and breathe. What comes next will open your eyes completely. And before you continue, lift this message up. Like this video so it reaches the ones who need warning before it's too late. Share this message with someone whose spirit might be under attack. Comment with what you're feeling. Subscribe and stay connected so you never miss the prophetic alerts heaven sends through this space. Your engagement pushes this message into the hands of someone whose breakthrough depends on it. Type "I choose divine separation" in the comments if this truth is resonating in your spirit. Blessing code 1818 has just been released. Just as God is exposing hidden intentions in your life, He is also raising voices that carry truth, warning, and spiritual clarity. When you support this mission, you become a vessel through which light travels into places where deception once lived. God says, "Those who sow into my work will never walk in darkness," and that promise becomes alive as you stand with this calling. I speak this to you from my spirit. Your support is not a donation. It is a weapon of light, breaking chains in the lives of those who will hear these messages because of you. The urgency of this message echoes the urgency of the title, and heaven is calling you to help carry this fire further. Every seed you release, whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, becomes a spiritual act that heaven honors with abundance. If God is stirring your heart, respond with boldness. Step into this moment as one chosen to advance the kingdom. My spirit awakened one. There is a trembling in the atmosphere around your destiny right now, an inner vibration that tells you something sacred is unfolding, something long overdue, something heaven ordained. Archangel Michael steps forward again, his presence firm yet comforting, carrying the authority of one who has witnessed every hidden battle surrounding your life. He says you are now entering the stage where heaven reveals the purpose behind the pain, the blessing behind the betrayal, and the divine strategy behind the exposure. What has felt heavy, confusing, or emotionally tangled will now begin to make sense. You are being shown not only who this person is, but why their presence mattered and why their removal is essential. For a long time, you believed this person was meant to walk beside you. You believed they were a safe place, someone who understood your heart, someone who had good intentions, someone who wished you well. And in the beginning, maybe they did. But seasons change people. Spiritual assignments shift. Hearts that once aligned can drift when insecurity grows. You must understand that not every person who begins with you is meant to finish with you. Some people enter your life to teach you something about trust. Some enter to teach you something about discernment. Some enter to teach you how to protect your spirit. And some enter to reveal the difference between genuine support and disguised envy. Archangel Michael says this person represents that difference. You saw glimpses of their loyalty, but you also sensed shadows of their resentment. You noticed moments where they supported you loudly, but doubted you quietly. They clapped for you publicly, but hesitated privately. They spoke encouragement with their mouth, but their spirit never fully aligned with their words. This duality confused you. It made you second-guess your intuition, question your perception, and suppress your spiritual sensitivity. But heaven saw everything clearly. Heaven has always known the truth. And now, Heaven is revealing it to you because you have matured enough to handle it without bitterness. You may not realize this yet, but this person's presence played a significant role in shaping your inner strength. They forced you to grow spiritually, even without your awareness. They pushed you to rely on God more deeply. They unknowingly sharpened your discernment. Their inconsistency trained your intuition. Their hidden intentions forced your spirit to stay alert. And their jealousy, which heaven never allowed to prosper, prepared you to identify spiritual misalignment quickly and decisively. In a strange way, their brokenness became one of your greatest teachers, even though the lessons were painful. Archangel Michael reveals something even deeper. The enemy targeted this person because of their access to your vulnerability. When someone has emotional closeness to you, their spiritual posture toward you matters. A heart-carrying jealousy becomes a spiritual gateway. A mind clouded with comparison becomes a doorway for interference. A spirit wrestling with insecurity becomes a channel for negativity to influence your atmosphere. This is why heaven had been so urgent in exposing this situation. Not because this person is evil, but because their weakness became dangerous when paired with their access to your life. You may remember moments when praying around them felt difficult, when your confidence shrank slightly after spending time with them, when your dreams felt questioned, not encouraged, when your ideas were met with doubt more than excitement. These were early signs of spiritual incompatibility. Heaven has been trying to pull you away from this energy long before you consciously understood it. Every distance that formed was divine. Every separation that happened naturally was protective. Every pause in the connection was heaven intervening. You might be asking why God didn't reveal this sooner. Archangel Michael says revelation happens in phases because your heart must be ready to receive the truth without reacting emotionally. If heaven had shown you the full reality earlier, you might have resisted it. You might have excused their behavior. You might have dismissed your intuition. You might have tried to repair a connection God was trying to prune. Now, you have grown. Now, you can understand. Now, you can see through spiritual eyes instead of emotional ones. This next revelation is crucial. This person's assignment in your life is complete. Their chapter in your story is closing. Your access is being revoked. Your influence is being dismissed. Your spiritual interference is being silenced. Not out of punishment, but out of necessity. Heaven is preparing to elevate you into a higher realm of financial stability, spiritual power, emotional clarity, and divine purpose. You cannot carry spiritually draining attachments into that realm. You cannot bring unhealed energy into a healed future. And you cannot allow someone who quietly resented your growth to witness the fullness of what God is about to do in your life. Archangel Michael says your path is being purified for what comes next. The atmosphere around your destiny is shifting. New blessings require new boundaries. New opportunities require new discernment. New breakthroughs require new spiritual environments. This separation is not loss. It is divine alignment. You are not losing someone. You are losing a hindrance. You are not being abandoned. You are being protected. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected. As you move closer to the next revelation, you may notice old emotions rising. Sadness, confusion, even nostalgia. Do not mistake this for spiritual resistance. This is your heart adjusting to a new reality. This is your soul releasing what no longer belongs. This is your spirit preparing to receive the clarity you have been avoiding. What comes next will complete the understanding. You will see exactly why heaven intervened and why this message found you now. Stay with this message. Your breakthrough is hidden within the next unfolding truth. Type "I receive this clarity" in the comments if your spirit feels aligned with these words. Blessing code 3939 is now released. I divinely protected one. There is a stirring in the deepest places of your spirit right now, a silent recognition that the truth you are receiving is not new. It is simply finally being acknowledged. Archangel Michael stands with you in this moment, his presence like a shield of light surrounding your entire atmosphere. He says you are now ready for the clarity that once would have overwhelmed you. You are ready to see what heaven has been preparing you to understand. You are ready to connect the final pieces of this spiritual puzzle so that no confusion, no manipulation, no disguised intention will ever cloud your discernment again. This is the phase of revelation where your eyes open fully and the truth becomes undeniable. There is something you must understand before the next layer unfolds. The person God is exposing did not become spiritually dangerous because they were evil. They became dangerous because they were emotionally unhealthy and spiritually unprepared for the grace you carry. Your calling intimidated their insecurity. Your purpose highlighted their stagnation. Your growth challenged their comfort. Your light revealed their shadows. And instead of facing their own inner struggle, they projected it outward, onto you. This projection birthed jealousy. That jealousy birthed resentment. That resentment created spiritual interference. And that interference is what heaven is now dismantling completely. You may be remembering moments now where this person's actions made you question yourself. Times when you felt smaller in their presence without knowing why. Times when you felt guilty for growing. Times when your victories felt strangely heavy after sharing them with them. Times when you left conversations feeling discouraged, even though nothing offensive was said. These were not emotional reactions, they were spiritual responses. Your spirit was absorbing the misalignment their energy carried. Archangel Michael reveals that this person's spiritual posture toward you became compromised when their heart opened itself to comparison. Comparison is more dangerous spiritually than most realize. It shifts perception and distorts relationships. It corrupts intentions. It creates silent competitions in places where love and support should exist. Once comparison entered their heart, their ability to celebrate your progress died. They began observing your blessings instead of respecting them. They began studying your peace instead of protecting it. They became spiritually entangled in you, but not aligned with you. This is why your dreams started to feel attacked. This is why your motivation weakened at unexpected times. This is why your finances felt blocked or delayed. This is why you felt tired even after resting. Their presence had become a spiritual drain, subtle, quiet, disguised, but real. And heaven could not allow that drain to continue as you move into the elevation God has prepared for you. Your next season requires a purified environment. Your next breakthrough requires emotional clarity. Your next financial blessing requires spiritual protection. Your next assignment requires freedom from every unseen chain that once held you back. This is why heaven is intervening with force and urgency. This is why Archangel Michael said, "This is not a joke, it's an emergency." Because the timing of your blessing cannot afford the weight of this person's inner conflict. Their presence would have distorted your perception, weakened your boundaries, and slowed your spiritual progress. But now you are rising. Now your discernment is awakening. Now your spirit is stepping into clarity. And the truth is becoming so loud within you that denial is no longer possible. The person God is exposing is someone who once stood close enough to your heart to influence your emotions. They once stood close enough to your dreams to affect your confidence. They once stood close enough to your journey that their negative intentions affected your atmosphere. But their influence is being cut off. Their access is being revoked. Their spiritual connection to your destiny is being severed. This is divine protection in motion. Archangel Michael wants you to know this. The exposure is not simply about identifying this person. It is about reclaiming every part of your spirit that their presence tried to weaken. It is about regaining confidence in your intuition. It is about restoring clarity to your vision. It is about releasing emotional weight you were never meant to carry. It is about ensuring that your spirit enters the next chapter completely free. And now, heaven begins preparing you for the final revelation. The next phase will not just identify who this person is. It will reveal why God allowed them into your life in the first place, and why removing them now is a divine necessity. You will understand the spiritual assignment behind the connection, the purpose behind the pain, and the blessing hidden in the betrayal. Because every attack that did not destroy you became spiritual training. Every setback that did not break you became preparation. Every disappointment that did not crush you became strength. And heaven is about to show you the beauty behind all of it. Stay close, beloved soul. What comes next will be the most liberating truth you have ever received. The revelation is reaching its peak, and the clarity heaven is about to release will transform the way you see your past, your present, and your future. Type "I am ready" for full revelation in the comments if this message is touching your spirit. Blessing code 6060 is now activated. My deeply chosen one, there is a shift in your atmosphere right now. A subtle pull in your spirit that tells you you're standing on the threshold of complete revelation. Archangel Michael stands near, his wings spread wide, not in alarm this time, but in assurance. He says you have walked through every layer of this divine unveiling with courage. Your heart has faced the truth gently. Your spirit has absorbed the warnings with wisdom. And now, heaven is ready to show you the final purpose behind everything you have endured in silence. This part is not simply about identifying the person God is exposing. It is about understanding why their presence mattered, why their betrayal was allowed, and why heaven is removing them at this exact moment in your spiritual timeline. There is something important Archangel Michael needs you to grasp. The pain you felt was not punishment. The confusion you experienced was not failure. The heaviness, the exhaustion, the emotional turbulence, none of it was a reflection of weakness. It was preparation. You see, certain elevations require a purified spirit, and certain blessings require a strengthened heart. God does not allow interference to break you. He allows it to teach you what your purpose will later depend on. The person who attempted to order your financial and spiritual loss was unknowingly used as a tool to sharpen your discernment. This person's presence forced you to grow in ways you never would have otherwise. They taught you not to depend on validation. They taught you not to overshare your dreams. They taught you to sense spiritual shifts long before words are spoken. They taught you that energy never lies, even when people do. They taught you that closeness is not always alignment. They trained your spirit to detect tension, jealousy, and deceit even when they are wrapped in kindness. These lessons were not comfortable, but they were necessary for the magnitude of the calling you are stepping into. Archangel Michael reveals that this person's inner turmoil began the moment they recognized a truth you have not fully understood about yourself. You are favored. You are spiritually marked. You carry a grace that sets you apart. You walk with a sensitivity that heaven trusts, and your future carries weight in the spiritual realm. What they saw in you was something they desperately wanted but never cultivated within themselves. Instead of seeking healing, they allowed comparison to corrupt their heart. Instead of growing, they watched you grow and felt threatened. Instead of celebrating you, they studied you. And in studying you, they wandered into spiritual territory they were not prepared for. You might be remembering now the subtle awkwardness that always surfaced when you achieved something beautiful. You might recall moments where joy died the second they entered the room. You might remember how conversations with them always left your spirit feeling slightly misaligned. These were early signs heaven tried to show you. But your heart, being generous and pure, gave them the benefit of the doubt repeatedly. You explained away the discomfort. You excused the tone. You ignored the tension. This is why heaven had to step in with urgency. The emergency Archangel Michael announced was not because the attack was too strong. It was because the timing of your breakthrough is too close. Heaven refuses to let you carry spiritually contaminated energy into the next dimension of your life. You are about to step into a season overflowing with financial restoration, spiritual expansion, emotional freedom, and divine acceleration. But elevation without discernment leads to vulnerability. That is why heaven is exposing this now, not later, not earlier, but at the exact moment when your spirit has matured enough to handle the truth responsibly. And now the deeper purpose becomes clear. God allowed this person into your life to reveal your spiritual capacity. You learn that your intuition is powerful. You learn that your emotions carry messages. You learn that your spirit communicates long before your mind does. You learn that the divine realm protects you even when you are unaware of the danger. You learned how to sense jealousy without evidence, how to recognize spiritual misalignment without confrontation, and how to feel shifts in people long before they express them through actions. These lessons were shaping you into a vessel of wisdom. Archangel Michael also reveals something profound. The enemy targeted this person because they had access to your vulnerability. But heaven protected you because your destiny is stronger than their influence. What they thought would weaken you actually build you. What they hoped would drain you actually strengthened you. What they tried to dismantle actually made you more unshakable. You have grown beyond the version of yourself that needed their approval, their presence, or their support. Now the time has come for divine separation, the kind of separation heaven enforces when your next chapter cannot afford interference. This person is being removed from your spiritual path, not because they are unworthy of healing, but because they are unworthy of access to your destiny in this season. God will handle their healing separately. God will deal with their brokenness in His own timing. But your path is being clear. Your spirit is being untangled. Your heart is being freed. You are now stepping into a dimension where only aligned souls, pure intentions, and God-ordained connections will be allowed to remain. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. The exposure happening now is a sign that your elevation is already in motion. The spiritual interference has been cut. The financial blockage is dissolving. The emotional exhaustion is lifting. The fog is clearing. And the weight you felt for so long is being lifted from your shoulders by the hand of heaven itself. What comes next in this divine message will unveil the final peace, the release, the restoration, and the divine reversal that is about to fall over your life like rain after a long drought. You are stepping into the part where God turns every hidden attack into open blessing. You will want to stay for this. Type "I am ready for restoration" in the comments if this is speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 5151 is now activated. My destined and divinely rising one, there is a sacred stillness settling over you now, the kind that comes just before heaven releases a final revelation. Archangel Michael stands in his full authority, not as a messenger of danger anymore, but as a witness to your deliverance. He says this is the moment where everything comes together: the truth, the exposure, the purpose, and the restoration. You have walked through the heaviness of revelation, the ache of recognition, and the awakening of your discernment. Now you are stepping into the phase heaven has been preparing you for from the beginning, the release of what was harming you, and the receiving of what has been waiting for you. There is something your spirit already knows, even before your mind fully catches it. The person God exposed was never capable of destroying you. They were only capable of slowing you down, dimming your clarity, and draining your energy. But they could never touch the foundation of who you are. They could never reach the core of the calling that rests on your life. They could never damage the destiny God wrote long before you were formed. Every attempt against you failed. Every hidden intention fell apart. Every plan spoken in silence collapsed before it reached your doorstep. Heaven intercepted far more than you will ever know. You are standing today not as someone who survived an attack, but as someone who was held, guarded, and covered through it all. Archangel Michael reveals the final truth. The reason this exposure is happening now is because your new season demands a lighter spirit, a clearer mind, and a purified atmosphere. You are stepping into a divine chapter where blessings will flow without resistance, where opportunities will align without delay, where resources will come without struggle. This person's presence, spiritually, emotionally, or physically, could not be allowed to follow you into this place. Their energy did not match your elevation. Their intention did not align with your purpose. Their heart did not support your breakthrough. So heaven removed them, quietly, gracefully, decisively. God is not just exposing someone, He is freeing you from the emotional weight you carried unknowingly, freeing you from the confusion their presence created, freeing you from the spiritual fog that clouded your vision, freeing you from the draining energy that stole your motivation. The release you are receiving now is not temporary, it is permanent. Heaven is closing every doorway through which interference once entered. You are being sealed, protected, and lifted into a new dimension of peace. And now comes the restoration. Everything that was delayed because of their influence is being accelerated. Everything that was drained from you is being replenished. Everything that felt stuck is beginning to move. Everything that felt unclear is becoming sharp and bright. The financial losses you experienced are being reversed. The spiritual heaviness you endured is being lifted. The emotional exhaustion you carried is dissolving. God is returning everything you lost, in greater measure, in greater timing, with greater purpose. Archangel Michael says the blessing coming toward you is not a normal blessing. It is a recompense blessing, a divine repayment for the emotional turmoil, the confusion, the lost time, and the drained energy. Heaven never allows a chosen one to suffer without reward. What you are about to step into will make every tear worth it. Every delay will make sense. Every disappointment will reveal its purpose. You are being elevated above what tried to hinder you. You are being restored beyond what tried to break you. You are being positioned for opportunities that were always meant for you, but could only arrive once this interference was removed. And now listen closely, beloved. This next season will require you to trust yourself again, to trust your intuition, to trust your spiritual sensitivity, to trust the signs heaven shows you, to trust the divine nudges you once ignored. Your spirit is wiser now, stronger now, sharper now. You will not be fooled again. You will not be drained again. You will not be deceived again. You have stepped into spiritual maturity, and heaven is honoring that growth by ushering you into a season where discernment protects you before danger even reaches you. The revelation is complete. The exposure is done. The cleansing is finished. And now, you are standing at the threshold of a new beginning, a life without hidden interference, without silent sabotage, without unspoken jealousy lurking in your atmosphere. The path ahead is clean. The door ahead is open. The blessing ahead is unstoppable. Before you leave this moment, breathe deeply. Feel the shift. Feel the lightness. Feel the release. Heaven has done what needed to be done. And now, beloved soul, help lift this message into the lives of others who need this same breakthrough. Like this video. Share this message with someone who may be walking through silent spiritual battles. Comment your testimony and subscribe so you never miss another prophetic message heaven sends for your protection. Your engagement carries this message further into the hands of those who desperately need divine clarity. Type "I step into my NEW season" in the comments if your spirit feels the shift within you. Blessing code 9990 has now been activated. Just as this message has walked you from exposure into restoration, your support helps carry this same divine clarity into lives waiting in darkness. When you stand with this mission, you become a vessel through which God reaches souls who are moments away from spiritual collapse. Heaven says, when you sow into light, you reap from open heavens, and today that promise becomes living truth for those who help advance this calling. I speak this to you directly. Your support is not just giving. It is warfare. It is ministry. It is partnership with God's movement. The theme of this message, urgent revelation and divine protection, is the same urgency that guides this channel's purpose. Every seed you release through Super Thanks membership, where the PayPal link in the description becomes a prophetic act that heaven will multiply back into your life. Do not hold back when God is stirring you. Move boldly, for your obedience becomes someone else's breakthrough.